Did Nick ever rape you?
No.
And when you guys had sex after your mother's murder, was that consensual?
It started out as consensual, yes.
What do you mean it started out as consensual?
I told him to stop during sex, and he did not.
Hey everybody, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. I won my TikTok permanent ban account back, and it is in perfect good standing, as I said I would. So I started saving all of my content. My first video I ever did on Gypsy was on October 12th of 2023 when Lifetime released their trailer for the Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I had to take it down and re-upload it on November 27th of 2023 because I had to bleep out the R word and other words to comply with the guidelines.
I was molested when I was 9 by my grandfather. And then in my relationship with Nick, there was some sexual abuse.
So because YouTube has a different set of community standards for their creators and for their content guidelines, I have to block out anything that is owned and under copyright by Lifetime, HBO, or any other mainstream media outlet because they will hit me with a copyright or a copyright claim, and I do not want that. So I have blocked it out, and I have also blocked out the audio because copyright audio is another very big deal over here on YouTube. So if it goes quiet or you see something blocked out, this is my original content. All of this is my original content and videos that I have done on my TikTok page. And there's also going to be a lot of pictures as well because I have shared over 7 different videos early on about all of Dee Dee Blanchard and Gypsy Rose Blanchard's pets. So if you see something like this, it's because my copyright content has to be covered up so I don't get hit with a copyright claim. So for anybody that does not follow me on TikTok, here is all of my TikTok content regarding Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I've been here for over 16 months because I realized her lies in a trailer on October 12th of 2023. So that's the reason why I'm here. I've been telling people since the beginning, don't trust and don't believe.
Like, it's something that I'm going to have to address. Yeah. Because it's always in my comments. Like, why are we glorifying a murderer and this and that and the other? And, you know, I don't want to have to remind people every single time that I'm not the one that committed the act of the kill. So, you know, I'm a part of it.
Right.
But in the state of Missouri, there's no such thing as accessory to murder. So technically, they couldn't charge me with accessory because that charge doesn't exist. So, I mean, had I been in another state, I would have been charged with accessory to commit murder.
Oh, that makes sense.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
My life, yes. She taught me how to be a good liar. A very good liar without any conscience.
Don't believe me, believe Gypsy Rose herself. Very unpopular opinion here, but that you can solicit murder, murder for hire, incite murder, commit murder, and that all equals first degree premeditated murder. Same as the act of actually carrying out murder. Murder doesn't mean that you shot the bullet that killed the person, or you stabbed the knife that killed the person, or that you blew the person up. It could be putting poison in somebody's drink and that person drinking it and therefore dying, even though you're removed from the act of actually physically doing it to somebody. Murder for hire and soliciting somebody else to commit murder is first degree premeditated murder. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, unpopular opinion, but the fact that in Missouri she can get the plea deal of a lifetime to testify against somebody who is extremely autistic and that she solicited for murder, carried it out, and that she can get out in 8 years. Not only is that against all of their laws, and I understand the abuse part, but that doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make her acts okay. It doesn't mean that any of it is absolvable because you can't be absolved of murder. The problem is the punishment. The punishment doesn't fit the crime. She doesn't get to be absolved because her mother was abusive to her to some degree. Murder is still not okay. It's not only not okay, but the fact that she gets to get out in 8 years and continue on doing the same exact thing she was doing that got her into trouble in the first place. Talking to strange men, sexting with strange men, going online, writing, texting, emailing, sending pictures, nude pictures, videos, all of that to strange men. For Christ's sakes, she married somebody she doesn't even fucking know. That's weird. Instead of rehabilitating and actually focusing on herself and her future, she's completely jumping right into another codependent relationship with a strange man. That's weird. That's really fucking weird. And that's not even proving that she's not incorrigible anymore, that she's rehabilitated, that she's better. Because how can you ever be better from something like that? This is not a fixable crime. This is not something that you can ever come back from. Ever. This. And that is no way, shape, or form to undermine the amount of abuse that she really did suffer at the hands of her mother. But Nick Godejohn was not the first or only person that she told. So the whole story of telling the authorities scared her because she knew that they weren't going to believe her and that she had to resort to murder is a lie, because she told several men over the course of 2 years that she was speaking to online and on dating websites what her mother had been doing to her. She had solicited more than one person for murder of her mother. And she told several friends as well. So that excuse doesn't fly. Especially because she did run away twice, and she did get away with it. But she's not telling you about that second time. Now I know this is a bad joke, but anybody that has more than one kid, do you have a cabinet that looks exactly like this? And unfortunately, all this stuff has medicine in it, so it doesn't look like all this is empty bottles that should be in the trash. There really is no excuse for this shit, honestly. Like, I have 5 kids and I don't ever have my shit looking like this. Hell no. This is really the part that bothers me the most, because my heart, my mind, my soul does feel for Gypsy. But there's also something that tells me that she hasn't been completely honest. Even in the new docuseries that she is pushing to people, and the audiobook and all the interviews that she's doing for money, monetizing her crime, trying to play it off as she is rehabilitated, that she's better, that she is bettering herself, that she wants to go on to raise awareness. She didn't kill her mom because of self-defense for the abuse. The abuse was egregious. It was horrible. I couldn't imagine how long it's going to take her, if not the rest of her life, to learn to cope with that. But the first things first, she was not taught anything in prison, and she didn't get adequate therapy because she didn't learn the hard lesson that you need to focus on yourself. Know yourself. To have time to yourself before you can give to another person in a relationship. But she's still that sex-obsessed, boy-obsessed mentality that she would actually marry somebody who she doesn't even know in real life. And the fact that she doesn't have people in her life telling her, hey, you have all the time in the world to get married. You have all the time in the world to date, to get to know this person. What is the rush? You know, maybe you should really get out of prison and focus on you, focus on doing good, not this never-ending press tour and all of these interviews. And something doesn't sit right with me with a lot of the things she said in 3 different interviews throughout her 8 years that she was in prison. There's a lot of contradictions there that really bother me. Her attitude towards Nicholas Godejohn, that really bothers me, because she has absolutely no remorse where she should have remorse the most. And the fact that she says, he served his time, I served mine. Yeah, but you shouldn't have been allowed to take a plea deal. They wanted to save millions of dollars because they thought that there's no way a jury would convict her because of the abuse story, clouding everything in their mind and making them biased, that they couldn't possibly bring a trial against her and charges against her, go through a trial, and not end up with a hung jury or a not guilty verdict altogether. So they offered her a plea deal. But she shouldn't have been allowed to testify against Nick Godejohn. That right there was the most miscarriage of justice that I've ever seen. And she does take some accountability for the fact that she did ask him to do it. But she didn't take into accountability all the circumstances that she laid out and manipulated to get him to agree to that. It was 2 years in the making. It wasn't just a sudden, oh, I love you, let's run off together, you're going to be my knight in shining armor. No, she was trying to force him to be the knight in shining armor. And that doesn't really sit right with me. The docu-series has 2 more episodes dropping tonight after midnight, and then tomorrow night after midnight as well. So 2 on the 5th, 2 on the 6th, 2 on the 7th. And you can watch them on Sling TV or Hulu Live. I obviously am not going to pay for it, but I did watch the first 2 episodes. And there's quite a few things in there that she's saying now that she didn't say before. And I know that there's secrets that they want you to think, new details that are coming out, things that you have never heard about the case before. They're trying to amplify the monetization of this because the docuseries, the audio recordings, the audiobook, all of that stuff was pre-planned to coincide and correlate with her release date so they can maximize the amount of money. There's also something that tells me that Gypsy and Ryan, her husband specifically, has already been plotting a podcast and a YouTube channel. Because when she was released and they celebrated New Year's Eve, a couple days after her release, you see in the background, there's a neon sign that says Gypsy and Ryan. Just like a lot of YouTubers have behind them, however they set up their little room for their YouTube videos. Which tells me that her husband and her have been planning that for a while. And I'm sorry, but nobody wants to hear what the fuck he's got to say. I don't know you, Ryan. You know, go do your job. You have absolutely nothing to do with her crime, her prison sentence, her past life. And nobody wants to hear what you've got to say. It's irrelevant. Go be with her and be the best person that you could be for her. And be a true, honest, and good husband and friend and person, spouse that you can be to her. The best thing for her is not putting her out in the spotlight, doing interviews, making money off of her crime. I think all of that could backfire. And it's not going to work unless she is actually going to be honest, which she has not been. This, unfortunately, confirms all of my suspicions that she is still sex and boy obsessed. Because she insinuates that all these people are hating on her husband due to the sheer fact that they all want to fuck her. I don't get the meaning behind that. I think it's that people are legitimately mad that a murderer gets to get out in 8 years when she's the sole purpose of the murder. Here I was sharing bits and pieces from the actual show and things that she was saying in relation to being engaged when it had already been put out in the media many times during her incarceration that she had been engaged to Ken, somebody completely different. So I found this to be very bizarre, that this unhealthy habit of still being sex crazed and obsessive over men or boys, people that she doesn't even know, was still affecting her life, and that she was making the decision to get married while incarcerated. I was raising the flag saying, hey, wait a minute, this is not normal. And there's no way that her stepmom or dad should be supporting this. This is absolutely insanity to me. I can't believe that Lifetime is even standing by and just recording all this, loving the drama because it drums up views for them. But I was telling people against the tide because Gypsy was getting a lot of support at this time, saying, hey, there's something not right here. I also was very suspicious of Ryan.
I had been taking narcotics such as Xanax and Vicodin.
Just wait till I show you my content 10 months later.
High. Very high.
He was a different persona now.
Remember,
Yes, he was.
this is all in
He
order
was
going from
the loving
October of
boyfriend
2023 to after
is
her
gonna
release, January of
make all
2024.
my dreams
We
come
will
true.
work our way to today.
How do you feel about him
Because no
now?
man can do that.
I can't stand
No
him
woman can do that. This is what pisses a lot of people
because
off.
I went from one abusive person to another. I wish he would have been more responsible. He was the first person I ever told that I could walk.
Not true. Not
And yet I asked him a question. I asked him to kill my mother, but I didn't hold a gun to his head and make him do it. He seemed more happy to do it than anything.
Okay, YouTube may block out some of this
That's
audio.
why I can't stand him, is because he knew. I think he knew that he could easily get me out of that situation by calling the police, being responsible.
So, y'all
That's
pull
self-protection.
this off. You get away with this for like 4 days before you're in custody.
Yes, sir.
And then you're in an interrogation room.
Your mom's dead, okay?
Like, it's something that I'm going to have to address.
Yeah.
Because it's always in my comments. Like, why are we glorifying a murderer and this and that and the other? And, you know, I don't want to have to remind people every single time that I'm not the one that committed the act of the kill. So, you know, I'm a part of it.
Right.
But in the state of Missouri, there's no such thing as accessory to murder. So technically,
They couldn't charge
me with accessory because that charge doesn't exist. So, I mean, had I been in another state, I would have been charged with accessory to commit murder.
Oh,
Interesting.
that makes sense.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
This is where the tide really started to change for Gypsy Rose Blanchard, all the way from January, February, March of 2024. A lot of these bigger creators or anti-crime or anti-gypsy creators that are around on TikTok and YouTube still were not around at this time. And even though I was a one-man band all by myself telling people, wait a minute, there is something not quite right going on here. This person is trying to lessen their culpability in the crime, saying that they were an accessory. No. The statute for homicide, first degree premeditated homicide in the state of Missouri very clearly states anybody over the age of 18. She was 2 months shy of her 24th birthday when she took the life of her mother. Anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another person upon deliberation is the premeditation part. She did first degree premeditated homicide in the state of Missouri, which does have capital punishment. And yes, her and Nicholas go to John were both facing the death penalty. A lot of the early negotiations between Mike Stanfield and the DA or the PA, whichever you want to call it, the prosecuting attorney or district attorney, was trying to get the death penalty off the table. And that is where we started to see all of this happen. In 2015, I was 30 years old. I remember all of this. And of course, I kept sharing, resharing, reiterating to the public. When she had over 10 million followers and growing in those couple months after release on TikTok alone, I kept telling people, please look into this. Please just watch, pay attention, really focus on what you are seeing and hearing, because anybody that would go on the stand under oath before man and God, the laws of man and God, and lie and perjure themselves, or would go on an HBO and Lifetime documentary and say something completely different. Well, which one was the truth? Was she telling the truth on the stand under oath, or was she telling the truth here in the Lifetime documentary? This is where I noticed the lie about saying he forced her to do anything intimate, and that it was not him, which she says on the stand, he was the first person that ever knew she could walk. And then she says in a documentary, no, he's not. In fact, Dan, the man, was the first person. Dan Glidewell was the first person she ever told that she can walk. A whole 4 years prior, in 2011, when she was 19 years old. She also admits that he never R-worded her in front of her dad, her stepmom, and Mike Stanfield, her attorney, which I think is also very telling of what the truth is. It's trying to make Nicholas appear to be some sex crazed maniac, psychotic unaliver, and that she was just another victim of his, and not what the truth really is, which is she sought him out and she manipulated him for almost 3 years, from 2012 to the summer of 2015 when the crime occurred. As for me, myself, and I have been here for over 16 months by myself before it was ever the cool or popular thing to do, telling people we don't give a platform to serial unalivers. We don't give Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, and Ted Bundy a platform and paid them, millions, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for TV shows and appearances and book deals and speaking engagements. We don't do that. So why are we giving Gypsy Rose a platform?
This is a quote from Gypsy Rose. Quote, "My mother and I were bonded by this lie together that we couldn't escape."
Gypsy Rose. Another quote by Gypsy Rose.
Also, sharing the fact that Munchausen syndrome by proxy or factitious disorder is something that most experts are claiming her mother do not fit the criteria or meet the criteria set for Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So the fact that they have people on actual documentaries like HBO and or Lifetime telling you that that's exactly what her mother had, well, I have been telling you, people cannot be diagnosed when they're deceased. And she is doing the same exact lying and grifting she always did with her mother. Always. Except for now, she's doing it without her and better and even bigger than ever. I warned people to look, to pay attention, to watch, to really focus and absorb what you are seeing, what you are watching, what you are witnessing, and what you are hearing. That this would come to backfire. That this is not something that everybody should be celebrating and doing. And at the very least, that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is requiring very, very intensive therapy for the rest of her life. I mean, she should be going 3 to 5 times a week type of therapy if she really was ABUSED'd the way that she claims she was, which is also very doubtful considering all of the lies and the inconsistencies of her own words, actions, choices, and behaviors, and what that has told us in and of itself. This is a video with the trailer for her Lifetime show, Life After Lockup. And of course, because this is copyrighted material, I'm going to have to cover it up. But this was me reacting to this, you know, her following her life after incarceration, following her and Ryan, and following that they even hint to she's not happy and that they may split up. But they, of course, don't give you too much. But it's all in there. The hints are in there. And it's saying, oh, everything is new. Details she's never told you before. She's never had a whole 24 years of life before. She's going to come out of prison and have to learn a phone. She had a phone. She had 3 phones. She had her mom's. She had 2 hidden phones, burner phones. She also had a whole entire laptop. And she also was known to go to the library often and utilize the computers there at the library. So this whole thing that they're trying to sell you of paparazzi are following her, TMZ just happens to always be where she's at, nowhere cut off Louisiana. So that's exactly what this video is right here. It's me reacting to the trailer for Life After Lockup and just completely dumbfounded and stupefied the fact that she was even given a show. I really felt like I was just going crazy in this insane world. Like, what is happening? Yeah, live your life, reintegrate into society, be a contributing member to your community and society, do something great with your platform, do something great for advocacy, real advocacy and awareness for other people. But that's not what she does. She comes out and she immediately wants to, you know, do this, to get her teeth done, which is understandable. And she wants to get her nose cosmetically fixed, and she wants to dye her hair, and she wants to engage in all of these really awful choices and behaviors. And it's all excused and justified under the whole entire, oh, well, you know, she endured the worst kind of, you know, ABUSE from her mom. No, she did not. No, she did not. I know people single-handedly in my immediate family that has suffered worse trauma than anybody could ever imagine. And I have a really beautiful community here on YouTube that I have earned over 3 years. And I have a lot of subscribers, followers, and dear friends that I love immensely tell me about their stories, their trauma, their childhood, and things that they suffered and endured. And that's how I know, through facts and evidence and reading and really deep diving this, that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is not telling the truth, because she gets out and the first thing she does is decide to have 3 different cosmetic procedures on her hair, face, teeth, nose, and that would be re-triggering if that was true. Now, look at this here. She's still doing the same shit. She's still using mass media the same exact way her and her mama did. For fame, money, and opportunity. She's a fucking grifter like Meghan Markle or Amber Heard. Just, yeah, I don't know. And that dog she never had, and that cooking she never did. Look at the crime scene photos. Their kitchen was a fucking mess because they had too much food, too many dishes. Somebody had been doing a whole lot of messing up in that kitchen. And drinking a shit ton of pop, too, because you see fucking Pepsi Cola everywhere. Right here. Yeah. She's a full-grown fucking adult, and she was 1 month away from her 24th birthday when she... And this is why I was so pissed off and talking so much shit. This right here is her, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, trying to sue Fancy Maselli, a.k.a. April Johns. But the thing that really has me really upset, especially in the beginning, October, November, December, January, February, March, from 2023 to 2024, is the fact that Gypsy Rose Blanchard was still not using her platform for others, for good, to do something fundamentally to change what she says she went through. And not only that, but she's still perpetrating this horrible lie about Nicholas Godejohn, knowing that she is the one who reached out to him. She is the one who found him. She is the one who manipulated him for almost 3 years into helping her. After exhausting all these other plans and options, he felt there was no other way to help her. And with his level 2 autism and his mental illness and mental disability, I just think that it was egregious, the fact that she still was trying to throw him under the bus to make herself look better. And, you know, my dad used to always tell me that pointing the finger at somebody else and screaming from the top of your lungs how that person is a horrible human being and they're the ones that are doing bad and they're the ones that are doing wrong doesn't make you look like a better person. And he always told me that in a court of law, never do that. What you have to do is you have to prove through your own actions that you are the better person, that you're worthy, that you're good, that you make good choices. It's just like the saying, You don't go and jump off of a bridge just because somebody else does it, right? It doesn't justify you doing something or lying or being inconsistent or changing your story or being erratic and impulsive with your choices, your actions, your words, your behaviors, your decisions, with other people's lives, playing around with them like they just mean nothing to you, all for the sake of yourself, just because somebody else does it. And that's the truth. That really is the truth. There is a lot of really bad, horrible people out there who are frauds. They're liars. They con, they scam, they scheme. They do everything they can to financially harm other human beings or physically harm other human beings. And while I believe there's a lot of petty theft and there's a lot of petty crime that can be forgiven and people can turn their lives around, and most people are good, decent human beings that are worthy of forgiveness and second chances, this type of felony is not one of those. This is something you cannot make amends with. You cannot rectify it. You cannot change the clock. You cannot go back and bring somebody back to life. You cannot right those wrongs, but you can certainly try by changing yourself, by fundamentally changing the way that you act and behave and move through the world and what you do with that second chance that you were given. The fact that she feels entitled to that second chance tells me that she's not grateful for it. And that is another thing that has always bothered me the most about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, because we don't give a platform to Ted Bundy. We didn't give a platform to John Wayne Gacy or anything like that. It was about the victims, about trying to find more victims. It was about trying to bring closure to these families, not make them famous.
Obviously know Gypsy personally. I know Christy personally. I know Rob. So if a creator tells you that they have information that nobody knows and everyone lied, they're lying. They're doing this to create intrigue and interest and trying to get you to jump on the bandwagon to send hate to Gypsy. You don't have to like her, okay? You can dislike her.
Welcome to Katie Joy Polson, the most two-faced person on the internet.
Giggles, I took Katie Joy Polson's face. Yes, her face. I took her face and I split it in half and I mirror imaged each half to each other and used the golden ratio, right? This is for what you would look like if you had a perfect asymmetrical face. So I did that, and this is what it looks like. And trust me, I used the ratio. I made sure it was completely on grid. It was exact. This is it. This is one half of her face and the other half. And this is what they would look like, both sides, if she had asymmetrical face. For some reason, both versions look way worse than in real life. But I just thought it's funny because the two faces of Katie Joy Polson, who runs Without a Crystal Ball, which is not even a real company. She just, I'm going to make this YouTube channel handle Without a Crystal Ball and then go pay to have it listed as a LLC, a limited liability. It's a YouTube channel. It's not an actual business or company. It's because she does the same exact thing. And here you can see her say exactly that. But what's funny is she says, I personally know Gypsy. I personally know Krusty. I personally know Mia. I personally know Rob. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's so funny. Because if you personally know somebody, then you would know his name is Rod Blanchard. Not Rob for Robert or Ron for Ronald. It's Rod for Rodney. That is what his name is. And it's so funny that I'm a complete stranger to the Blanchards and to Gypsy Blanchard. And you know what? I know his name. How can you be a journalist and a reporter and fucking botch somebody's name so horribly? If you know them personally, no, you don't. Because if you know somebody personally, you know their name. You know them on a first name personal basis. I've never known somebody personally who I totally botched their name. I think that's the first in introductions and first impressions and all of that is that you know somebody's name. So I think that that's really funny. But then she goes on to tell people, she self-projects. She self-projects, telling people about people like Fancy who spread his misinformation, just because you look cleaner as you're doing it until you're drunk late at night on live because you can't handle being a wife and a mom, you know. Doesn't mean that you're not any different. In fact, everything she says is completely and exactly what Fancy Maselli is being sued for. And this is exactly why she is being sued. I can't even count the lawsuits. I know she was being sued or has been sued by Todd Chrisley. I know that 2 years ago on April 5th, which just happens to be my mother's birthday, 2022, Robert Shin. Okay, so if he sued her on April 5th of 2022, that means that she was doing that for a lot longer. It has a lot of evidence. Go read the suit. It's on my YouTube, straight out of context. Not straight out of context with Barbara Ann. You'll see the entire thing. Read it. It's all documented, exactly what she did. But the fact that she goes on to tell everybody that they're spreading misinformation to get false engagement. They're spreading misinformation. That's exactly what you do. Could you be self-projecting any harder than what you are? Literally. That's exactly what you do when you tell people that you're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Minnesota, and that you somehow have these sources in Louisiana, and you have sources in Arkansas with the Duggars, and that you have sources in LA for Miranda Derrick, and you have sources here in Detroit to Miranda Derrick's parents, and that you have sources in New York, and then you have sources here. Bullshit. You do not have sources. You are making it up. If you do not actually have a source, and you do not actually talk to people, and other than Google is not a source of information. That is a publishing, actually. When you take somebody else's publishing and republish it in your own words and plagiarize it, that's not only plagiarism, that's copyright, that's infringement, that's republishing somebody else's publishing. Yeah. You could be sued for defamation for not just plagiarism, but for defamation for republishing somebody else's publishing. That is against all journalistic oath and standard and moral. And she's sitting here saying Fancy's doing that stuff. Never mind Fancy. You're doing it right now with That Live. You're doing it with all your videos. You're doing it with all your social media. In fact, while you're doing social media constantly 24/7 for years, what are you doing? You're not with your son. You're not with your husband. You're not cleaning your garage, obviously. What are you doing? That's right, creating sensationalist, intriguing, completely false misinformation, because misinformation sells better, gets more likes, more views, more watch time, more comments, even if it's in the form of negativity and not positivity. You're going to get more engagement. More engagement means more monetization, means that you have to keep doing it to keep making big checks. And you know what? You're a fucking sellout. You're a sellout if you're that bad of a human being that you do that. That you're not actually doing anything good. Or you're not actually reporting anything fundamentally the truth. And making up sources that do not exist. Or even reaching out to people themselves to try to say that they're the source. Lying about a real source. No, journalists are supposed to protect their sources. Supposed to honor their sources, and is supposed to do a credibility check to make sure that their sources are not lying to them before they publish. I mean, the whole entire thing with the Catholic Church and the 90 different Catholic priests in that entire, if you've ever watched the movie or the documentaries about that, the 90 different, it took them years to cross-reference and actually go back and find every person to check before they were allowed to even publish the fact that the Catholic Church in Boston and New York and in that area, that Boston alone, I think the one was all about Boston, and just 90 priests in over several decades that they knew, that the Catholic Church knew, and was actually taking these priests and just moving them around to different parishes, and that they knew that they were harming kids. And so when they did that, the journalists, not only did they have to directly talk to the victims and the sources that they had to do their due diligence, and they had a duty of care. They had to, before they could publish any kind of story, even if somebody else beat them to it, they still couldn't come out with their story until they went and fundamentally made sure their sources, every source, was credible, checked out, was telling the truth. And if you are a true journalist, trust me, you are not flying all over the United States and paying for that, being able to in-person interview people in these sources and to actually check to make sure that they are telling the truth. She's making up the fact that she has sources. She doesn't have sources. She's out in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota, in her house, in her basement, on her phone or her camera or whatever fucking PC she has, and she's making these dumbass videos and creating sensationalist thumbnails, sensationalist headlines and tags and keywords, and SEOing her videos so she can stay monetized. It is for no other motive. The biggest motive is this is how people make money today. They're doing it by OnlyFans, they're doing it by Patreon, they're doing it by Spotify, they're doing it by podcasting. This is how people are making money. And Katie Joy is no different. And not only that, but money is the biggest motive in the world. Money literally curses people and turns people into horrible human beings. You're not going to find a genuinely good character human unless you're here in HUD housing and finding people that have done nothing but been poor and stayed poor and struggled their entire life for everything that they are and everything that they have. You're not going to fundamentally find good people. She's not a good person. April Johns is not a good person. To me, they are no different. But for you to sit here and lie and say that you know them, if you DM'd Gypsy and she messaged you back a few times, or you gave her your cell phone number and you guys texted a few times, you don't personally know them. That's not enough communication or even meeting in person to say that you know them in person. And not only that, you would not botch and call her dad Rob for Robert when his name is Rod for Rodney. Who lies like that?
Katie Joy Paulson has flipped since then.
It's verifiable.
I told you.
I'm going to go ahead and remind you all of my post right here confirming that Gypsy Rose was pregnant early May when she found out. She was about 5.5 weeks. She got pregnant to the mid-3rd week of April. Now, I was the first person because I was told by somebody who was related to Gypsy that she was pregnant. Confirmed. And I saw something that actually showed me that, yeah, this person is not lying at all. Now, allegedly, well, right here, I told y'all first. I confirmed this first because the person that I had sent me a DM and told me, I'm telling you, I was like, yep, she's just waiting. She's just waiting to put the news out. And of course,
if y'all want to really know, it's
the
one of
genetic
Gypsy's
test
own cousins
supposedly
who
came
put this
back.
out to me.
Everybody keeps saying that it's a girl. No, it's a girl. We know it's a girl. But I would hold off on that because she has not gotten that confirmation yet. And I don't know why everybody keeps acting like this is some kind of surprise. This is not a surprise. This is how karma works. You want to lie of your mom. You know what ends up happening? You end up having a baby girl in about 25 years. It's going to do the same thing to you. That's how karma really works.
So I know the rumors have been flying around for quite some time
today,
now.
Confirmed today, but remember back
I'm
in
happy
May,
to announce that I am 11 weeks pregnant. Ken and I are expecting our very first child come January of 2025. We're both very excited. This was not planned at all. It was completely unexpected. But
so today, Gypsy Rose did announce that she is 11 weeks pregnant. Okay, that did make her exactly like I said back in May when she was about 5.5 weeks. And found out. That's when she found out. I'm telling you now. It was April. It was mid-April to the 3rd week, that area that she actually got pregnant. 100% confirmed. There is no allegedly about that because that's just what it is. That's 100%. There is proof out there that her family members have, and they have been talking to people that run content channels like me. So, I'm just saying this is, I'm not going to say my opinion on it, whatever, because it is what it is, but this is why. And I told you all this. No, allegedly. I told you confirmed. This is why Ken Urker, not Euchre, this is why Ken Urker moved from Texas all the way to be by Gypsy, because they already knew this. And he didn't want to be a piece of shit bum-ass dad to the entire world watching. So he had to do something to actually move closer to her, to help take care of her. And if he was serious about that relationship, come on now. But whatever you think, I don't know. You tell me, what do you think about her being pregnant? I think in about 25 years, we're going to find out. She's going to find out the hard way exactly what her mom went through. Yep. You take that as however you want to take that. But I bet you mentally, physically, emotionally, in any kind of other way, she's going to find out, because her child is going to do her dirty one day the same way she did her mother. And then after her doing what she did, she has the nerve to, oh, I'm just living my life. That's right. You can live your life. You can live your life, honey. Ain't nobody sitting here saying you can't. But when you hurt people in the process and then say, I've been to therapy and I have trauma, well, you have no business being in a marriage, let alone a relationship, and then disposing of people and hurting them the way that you do. The way that you do, because mark my words, Ken is going to end up not sticking by you, because you're going to lose them the same way you got them. Period. So right here, when I confirmed her pregnancy at 5.5 weeks, just remember, it wasn't allegedly.
In my mind, let's see. Yeah, y'all saw that. She needs to focus on her marriage, but you guys, God, I have so much to say about that, but I'm not going to do it, guys. Like, I'm glad y'all like the show. It was hard work doing those shows. They were in our life, and you become friends with all the camera guys and all the stuff. So I miss Ben, I miss Rod, I miss, of course, I miss Uber Tom. Always miss Uber Tom. Miss the producers. David, wherever you at, buddy, right there, man. David's our New York friend. Like, David helped me through one of my hardest times of my life. Like, real. Like, David was there to be a shoulder to cry on. Like, for real. David, right there, man. I just got emotional, guys. I'm sorry. Just got emotional. Look at Pixie for a second. Sorry about that. I do get emotional sometimes, guys. I'm sorry.
They had done some tests and found out she had a chromosome disorder that was causing all of her functions from developing.
It is absolutely astonishing and mind-blowing to me that Gypsy Rose is still grifting, lying, manipulating, and doing the same exact things that she has always done. Her second chance is her parole. She might not deserve a second chance. That's not up for me to decide. It's not up for you to decide. It was not the time. Way back when was the time everybody should have stepped in and done something and went to the court, went to the PA, the DA, and expressed their views that the first degree premeditated murder, she should have been sentenced to life for that. And in Missouri, you qualify for the death penalty, for capital punishment. Whatever. Her parole is her second chance. That's done. That's over with. You could be unhappy about it. A lot of content creators are making money on Gypsy's name right now. Literally. All her drama, making content on her drama, on her life, and funding their life, funding their lifestyle. So there's a lot of people that act like they hate her, truly act like they hate her and dislike her and don't agree with her being out, but yet they wouldn't have content on their goddamn channels and on their platforms if it wasn't for Gypsy. But this is the thing right there. What you just saw, Ryan Anderson, her husband, her legal husband, yeah. She didn't have the audacity to come to him like a grown-ass person, a normal person would, and say, this is how I'm feeling. This is the truth. This is the fact. And just up and leave him. You just suddenly come up with some excuse and gaslight him into thinking that he's the one that's doing something wrong. And then leave him like this with no closure. But you're still legally married. She's pregnant by an ex-pen pal. First of all, there's something not right with people that are writing to people who commit very heinous felony crimes in prison. Okay, there's something psychologically not okay with you, that's the type of person you're reaching out to. I know the dating pool of women, of single women, single good women, is not that small that these people are so desperate they're going to write people in Chillicothe and say, hey, you know what, we're going to go write this person. So there's something psychologically not right about Ken and Ryan to begin with, that they're even pen paling with murderers in prison, okay? That's a whole different topic, a whole different subject. But this is Gypsy Rose actively hurting people still in pursuit of her living her own life. Living your life and living your dreams should never mean you actively hurt other people in such a negative way. And now she's pregnant. So yeah, there is going to be a mandatory, because her husband's going to be the one that's going to go on the birth certificate. Now that she's pregnant, she can't go to court and get a divorce because now there's a child involved. So now there's going to be a whole mess with the DNA testing that's mandatory, plus probably having to amend the child's birth certificate, all of this crazy stuff. And then that also means that her divorce is going to be pending the birth of the child. So Gypsy's creating all this sensationalism on purpose. And I swear all these creators, they're all in cahoots with her and with her family and stuff, because all this negative publicity that people are doing on her, they didn't actively try to stop her from getting out on parole. They didn't actively try to keep her locked up. So it's a little too late for that. But my whole thing is with Gypsy Rose, go ahead and live your life, honey. That's fine. That's fine. Prove to the world that you are rehabilitated. That you are rehabilitated, that you were reformed, that prison actually did something for you, and that you learned your lesson. But you didn't, because you're still coming out here, whether you're unaliving somebody or committing adultery, lying to the entire world and gaslighting the entire world into we're the problem, we're the ones that's wrong. It doesn't matter which one of those 10 rules that you're breaking in life, you're still breaking them. Still breaking them now and still actively doing that kind of harm to other people. And that, with me, doesn't sit right, and it's not okay. And it's not okay at all. Anybody that would see this and see all of this stuff surrounding her and all of these lies and all of this fake sensationalism, propaganda, drama that is created for clicks and for views and for content, because there is no content without the drama and the BS, right? All of this is nothing more than Gypsy Rose monetizing and trying to make money and fund her life. Instead of just going and getting a regular 9-to-5 motherfucking job like everybody else that's physically able to work does. She did this before 2015. She was in magazines, on newspapers, on the news. They used GoFundMe, they use Facebook, they use YouTube, they use all kinds of social media to run all kinds of charity stuff and get money for her and to grift. And she also used celebrities, Disney World, Disneyland, money, monetizing all of it. All of it. She's not doing anything any different now. The grift is still exactly the same as what it was. It's just now even larger and multi-platform and international now. Just look. Boom. Boom. Another being airlifted and getting a whole entire motherfucking house from Habitat for Humanity for free. All this fucking shit in this house. Fuel for a fire. Yeah, they got all that for free too. Not to mention the stuff that they stole, because Gypsy and Dee Dee were caught by the police several times stealing, especially from a Michael's craft store. All them unused wheelchairs, 1, 2, 3 of them that she didn't even use, that are just sitting there. Because you know good damn and well inside that house, the reason why those windows were blacked out like that with trash bags is because Gypsy Rose was walking in the house, and we know that for a fact because her medical records reflect that her muscles in her legs did not atrophy. And after 2 days, 3 days of not walking, not only are you susceptible to getting blood clots, anybody at any age, but your muscles will automatically start to atrophy and stay atrophied. So if she was forced to stay in a chair and be in a chair constantly, the doctor wouldn't have wrote in her medical records that she was able to stand, because he watched her do it in his office in the room, and that her leg muscles, her thigh muscles and calf muscles were very, very well formed. So you know that she was using those muscles and walking inside the house. I don't believe that this whole victim narrative BS, just like nobody else believes it. Oh, yeah. Any parent, I can tell you right now, this medicine cabinet has always bothered me, and I've been saying this since day one. Any parent, look at that. All of that stuff, that's an obsessive compulsive, and hoarding is a type of OCD. This right here is just any parent that has kids. You probably have a closet or a pantry or something like that, or a medicine cabinet that has just about everything you could ever need in case there's a bug bite, a burn, poison ivy, poison oak, allergies, any kind of itch cream, any kind of cough syrup, any kind of Tylenol, Motrin, Advil, Aleve, any kind of Claritin, Benadryl, all of it, nasal spray. All the inhalers, all this stuff. Well, why is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? It looks like somebody's getting this shit filled, but they're not using it. There's rows and rows and rows of medicine. That's Metamucil. This is all over-the-counter stuff, except for the stuff that you find in the bottles. A lot of that's like a mouthwash a dentist will give you after you've had teeth pulled. And then a lot of this stuff here, you see a couple bottles, but most of this stuff, it looks overwhelming, but most of this stuff is over-the-counter. And full. Completely full and not used. If she was being forced to take that stuff, why is this all full?
Arrested in Big Bend, this week after authorities say they murdered a woman in Missouri. The story is growing increasingly bizarre.
It turns out Gypsy Blanchard and her mother were in the news before.
And asked him to stab her mother to death so that they could be together.
As the charges against her are detailed, you can hear her sobs.
Stole money from her deceased mother's safe and fled the state of Missouri.
And when she does speak in Waukesha County Court, she sounds like a child.
2103 West Volunteer Way.
But Gypsy Blanchard is an adult. Although authorities aren't sure exactly how old she is, it's likely somewhere between 19 and 23.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house, and she said, one day this will be real. And now it finally is.
That's Gypsy 7 years ago, clutching her mother Dee Dee's hand, the woman she's now accused of asking her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, to stab to death.
It's so easy to live here, and it's so peaceful.
The two were interviewed after Habitat for Humanity built them a handicapped accessible home because of Gypsy's disabilities. They said she was confined to a wheelchair.
We have an awesome bathtub. It's a jacuzzi tub meant for my muscles. And we have a wonderful ramp.
And I want to start off with saying things are not always as they appear.
Authorities say the two were lying. You can see Gypsy for yourself walking into court. Now, along with the investigation into Dee Dee's murder, authorities are also looking into what appears to be a financial scheme.
This is a tragic event surrounded by mystery and public deception.
Alleging Gypsy and her mother lied about Gypsy's health to get money and attention.
It just proves that happy endings are not just in fairy tales. They're real and true in real life also.
According to court documents, both Gypsy and her boyfriend say he stabbed Dee Dee after Gypsy asked him to. Investigators say he then mailed the knife to his Wisconsin home so he would not get caught.
Across the country, ball games, galas, the most magical place on earth, Disney World.
Make-A-Wish for taking her down to Orlando, all expenses paid and everything.
She even got to meet country superstars Miranda Lambert and then-husband Blake Shelton.
Miranda Lambert came to Springfield a few times, and I think she gave Dee Dee and Gypsy money.
Yes, she did. Look at this $3,500 check from the singer's personal account. But that wasn't all. Check her out posing with her favorite actors, Elijah Wood and Sean Astin.
Yeah. She's still doing the same thing, though, ain't she? Yeah, she is.
Medical therapy evaluation. This is the first incident where we can verify, according to the unofficial medical reports, Gypsy is taking part in the medical con. In 2005, when Gypsy is 14, the physical therapy report reveals Gypsy is indeed actively taking part in the exam. The medical record reads, quote, patient reports she can't transfer herself from her wheelchair. Patient reports she can propel herself only 50 feet in the wheelchair, end quote. Additionally, notes in the unverified medical record, same year, Gypsy undergoes a physical therapy evaluation. This is the first instance.
Right here, she and Dee Dee had been in on the plan together to defraud people for money. And they knew it. They knew it. They knew it. They gave her a plea deal because of a technicality. They didn't give her a plea deal because she deserved a plea deal. They knew that they would not get 12 jurors to unanimously convict her. So they compromised. The DA and the PA compromised. The district attorney and the prosecuting attorney compromised and said, well, she is guilty, so she does have to serve something. But we're not going to probably take this to trial and waste millions of dollars of taxpayer money and then possibly have a mistrial, an acquittal, a hung jury, whatever the case may be, and then have to retry her. So that's why they compromised, because it's kind of hard to prove or disprove the fraud stuff or the ABUSE stuff. But everybody knew that she was in it. She was 24. Of course she was. But if you think that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is not doing the same exact motherfucking thing she has always done, you are dead ass wrong, and you are very naive to believe everything that you hear, see, and read, because this is exactly that. Her still using mass media, newspapers, news networks, big companies that have networks, using the publishing, even using social media and charities. Interview after interview after interview. Yeah, you got it. You know exactly what I'm going to say. Yeah, that too. Oh, and there was, and this, and this, and this one. Is that not what her and her mom was doing when they were on the news together? Plus, there is I don't have the newspaper, but I know for a fact because I have seen it, witnessed it with my own eyes. There is a newspaper of Gypsy Rose swimming with dolphins in Florida. Somebody might have it out there, an actual copy of that publishing, but it does exist, and I've seen it. Gypsy Rose swam with dolphins in Florida. Swam with dolphins in Florida. They were on the news and published in several newspapers for the Habitat for Humanity house. They were gifted this brand new cube after the van they were gifted had some kind of transmission issues. Oh, did I mention that they got a whole motherfucking house? Yeah, a whole motherfucking house. So this and this. God damn it, stop doing that. And this. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the time that they ripped off the Ronald McDonald house as well. It's all a scam, and she was in on it. This, and even this news show, is all her doing exactly what she always did with her mom. Convince society, mass media, newspapers, news publishing, and big networks and corporations into believing their bullshit-ass stories for money. Oh, for money and monetary gifts. What do you think her baby registry is? Her doing the same exact thing. The only thing she did was she out the mom part. So her YouTube and her TikTok is nothing more but a bigger way for her to spread her message, the PR team, the scam, and all of it. So if you genuinely believe in Gypsy Rose's story and you do not logically sit and think about any of it making sense and all of her lies and contradictions, she has never, and that is Detective 101, is that if somebody ever changes their story or omits a truth by not telling it or hiding it, that is red flag number one, that they are not being honest. Because the truth is always the truth no matter what, and people that tell the truth and have the truth are always going to say it as it is. It doesn't change. It doesn't falter. It doesn't fail you. It's going to be as it is. Even over time, people may forget little tiny things, but their story is always going to be the same. When somebody constantly lies and says one thing and says another, just like she says on the stand, and I proved that back in November of 2023. Look at her on the stand at Nick Godejohn's trial. She says very clearly that he did not ever R-word her, and then you look at when she took the plea deal and had to go to court to actually plead guilty and take the plea deal, she mouths directly to her lawyer, no, he never raped me. And then she goes on to say it after she was released in this show about how he did. That it started off as consensual. No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. That it started off as consensual and then it stopped being consensual. And then he didn't listen and he continuously... No, that's bullshit. That is trying to put culpability and guilt and accountability and responsibility on somebody else. And not herself. So I have been exposing Gypsy Rose. I know somebody that works for creator support on TikTok, and they told me that what she makes is even more than this number. Now, this can be wrong, but I cannot show that because they cannot give me the actual proof, but I definitely believe my friend when they tell me that Gypsy is making even more than this. And what she's making in gifts is fucking astronomical. Every time she goes live and somebody's constantly buying her little gifts, that's money. That's money that she's actually getting. And that's disturbing and sick that so many people still buy this. So if you want to know the motive why Gypsy Rose just wanted to do whatever the fuck she wanted to do and be with whoever the fuck she wanted to be with without mommy being in the way. It's that simple. It's that logical. Occam's razor.